His son's Xavier, a savant of football knowledge and statistical insight. He's your go-to source for the latest recruiting news and insider updates from across the Bama Nation. And Simeon, the thinker and contemplator, bringing you insight and knowledge that is logical, thoughtful, and on point. Together, they deliver fair and balanced analysis from an insider's perspective with real conversations where the callers, the listeners, and the online maniacs get in on the action by sharing their thoughts, their comment, and their reaction. Join our online maniacs at facebook.com/The Martin Houston Show. You're listening to Tide 100.9 and 1230 WTBC. It's time for kickoff. So buckle up and get ready, because this is the sound of Bama sports. The Martin Houston Show with Martin, Xavier, and Simeon is live. Roll, Tide, roll!
Good morning. Welcome into the Martin Houston Show with Martin, Xavier, and Simeon. On this Monday edition, man, we've got a lot of things that we're going to get into today. Of course, we're going to have Kennington Smith, the third, joining us as he does each and every Monday. But we're going to break down SEC Media Days as we get into that, talking who's going to be the talk of the town after this week. Who's going to be the new coach or the new face, old face at a new school to make some noise this week as things take off as well. But of course, we'll talk some Bama football. We have some from Coach that we're going to hit about Alabama being the number one hated team in the nation, in the country. That's what Coach DeBoer wants to get back to. Is that the type of attitude that you want to hear and see from not just Coach DeBoer, but this coaching staff and team as a whole in the 2026 season, and a lot more?
All right. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Had my PC froze up. Technology happens. I apologize for that. But hey, man, it's SEC Media Days, SEC Media Week. Alabama's not up until Wednesday. Today, we got Kentucky opponent, Missouri, Oklahoma falls off the schedule, and Tennessee, our forever opponent, is who we have. So we'll get into those guys and gals when we get into the conversation with Kennington Smith III. Couple things, topics, guys. Just wondering what's going to be the big topic around the SEC. There's been a lot of talk from coaches as you do like some research outside of Alabama, outside of Tuscaloosa, about culture over talent, meaning coaches believe that you can do things like leadership, accountability, player development, retention, and team chemistry, and maybe beat the guys who just have more talent because they don't have a chance to make them the number one team. One of the questions that kind of runs throughout the SEC is Texas the most overhyped team ever? I mean, you would literally think that Texas is always in the hunt. Man, Texas hadn't won a championship since like the earth was cooling under what was his name? Vince. I mean, it's
I was 14.
yeah. I mean, Vince, man, it's like, but you would think they're in it every week. You would think they're in it every week. So I mean, every year. So we'll talk about that. Alabama and coach DeBoer year 3. Is he ready? The SEC has 6 new coaches. Okay, making their debut. Quarterback battles happening all across the SEC. Of course, you know the normal transfer portal, NIL. The 9-game SEC schedule. How you feeling about that? Are you frustrated that the Big Ten goaded the SEC into a 9-game schedule? And after they go the SEC into taking on a 9-game schedule, they got coaches going, I'm gonna schedule who I want. I'm gonna schedule who I'm gonna schedule 4 wins a year or whatever. Yeah. So anyway, those topics and more we can get into today. Remember that this is a day that the Lord has made, so let's rejoice and be glad in it. Take some time today to notice someone, love someone, serve someone, be the difference you want to see in the world today. Q Dixon already jumped in on the Texas love from the media. Is crazy. Simeon, is Texas A&M and Sark, because Sark has everybody talking about I take Sark. You know how many times Sark has won 10 games?
Twice.
Once or twice.
Twice.
Did he win 10 last year? Did they finally get to 10 last year?
I think they went 10-3. I think.
Oh,
it had to have been the bowl game that got them to 10.
But you would think that Sark is like gold.
Yeah, I've seen some stuff talking about, especially from some big media guys, where Sark's a top 10 coach in the country, and I mean, or he's like a better coach than Kalen DeBoer, and people would rather have him over some of these other coaches. And I'm like, based off of what? I mean, you would think NIL, Texas wouldn't even do this. You would think Texas A&M.
Sark has 3 now. His last 3 years, he's actually won 10 games.
Well, you counting the bowl game, right?
You got to. Don't you?
I don't know.
I mean, okay, Kalen DeBoer was 10-3 last year. That make people feel better or worse?
Maybe. Well, to answer your question, I think his last, if you count the SEC championship game and the Indiana game, if you take those 2 away, Alabama fans would feel better. The way Alabama season ended, the last 2 losses, right? But what were you? Go ahead and finish your thoughts, Simeon.
No, it was just about. I just don't know where he's gotten all this love from when overall he's been projected to make it to the SEC championship game. I think probably
at least twice.
3 of the last 4 years, and they have been very, very, very underwhelming in all of their ways.
His first year in to the SEC, they played 1 team above the top 8.
First 2 years.
Take Georgia off the schedule. Their first year, the highest ranked team in the SEC they played was A&M, who was number 8. So, yeah. So he's unachieved. And if the rumors were correct, he was scared to take the Alabama job. So, but even like I said, I like Sark offensively. Don't misunderstand me. He was a genius, and
he's a great coordinator,
et cetera. And I'm not saying he's a bad coach. I just think Texas He just happened to be at Texas, which is always overrated, overhyped, never achieved. Speaking of that,
But honestly, it's kind of funny that everybody talks about Lane Kiffin kind of failing upward. I'm looking at Sark, 34-29 at Washington, 12-6 at USC. Then you coordinate for a handful of years after you get let go, and you get the Texas job.
it's called the Saban effect. Tell me the Saban guy other than Kirby that deserved the job he got. I mean, right?
Yeah, because 46-35 does not equate to I should be the head coach of Texas.
And I say Ole Miss, but Lane Kiffin
went to FAU,
right? But Lane Kiffin had also coached at Tennessee, the Raiders, and USC.
USC as well.
So technically, Ole Miss was a step down compared to those programs. So yeah, I don't know. But I think a lot of guys got rehabbed and or opportunities based on Saban. Do you really think that if Pete Golding had not been a former Nick Saban assistant,
no,
you think he gets the job at Oklahoma?
You mean Ole
Miss? At Ole Miss?
No. No.
Right.
If he wasn't at Alabama,
Simeon?
If he wasn't at Alabama, he doesn't get the DC. Lane doesn't hire him as his DC.
I don't know about that.
If he wasn't the reason he went from Alabama to Ole Miss is because of that relationship between Saban, him, and
yeah, but he was one of the hot. He was supposedly a savant of defense. He just never clicked here at Alabama. So that was a word that Saban sometimes put a blanket on top of his defensive philosophy. So he was trying to go. He was trying to go new school, and Saban was still in some ways stuck in his old school ways. And I've heard that about Saban and Tosh Lapoy, Saban and Golden. So I tend to believe that there's probably some truth to that. But anyway, we don't want to get too deep into Saban. Bam Bam saying, I'm just glad Saban never left Bama for Texas. If the rumors were true way back in the day, Saban at Texas during that time would have been scary. From what I've heard on the trail, Saban was headed to Texas. And the tornado may have endeared him to Alabama, him and Miss Terry. But there were some reported meetings. So with that said, we'll come back on the other side. We're going to keep talking. It may be a manic Monday because we've been all over the place already in this first quarter. We'll be back on the other side. Get your thoughts on what's your biggest topic? What do you think is going to be the biggest conversation of SEC Media Days, whether it's about Alabama or any of Alabama's opponents? We'll take an inside look at a couple of the SEC schools today that are on the Alabama roster that's up on the docket for SEC Media Days. I'm Martin Houston. That's Simeon Houston. That's Xavier Houston. We'll be back on the other side.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
Tuscaloosa traffic now from the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center. I like what I see as we roll things along 359 north and south. Not a brake light to be found, getting you between 15th Street down towards 2059 east and west. Not a care in the world, getting you to and from Birmingham. All clear right now. McFarland Boulevard East and westbound, getting you over the water down towards 15th. Looks like Greensboro North and South is a great shot parallel to 359. If things get a little bit hasty later this morning, everything else in solid shape. With your Tuscaloosa traffic now, I'm Interseco.
This report is sponsored by RockAuto.com.
Save thousands on a new Nissan, and every Women's Wednesday, get a $49.99 oil change with a complimentary multi-point inspection at Townsend Nissan, your family in the car business.
Ooh, bent tie rod. What are you going to do?
I'm way ahead of you. I'll be on rockauto.com before you can even finish this commercial.
He's right. RockAuto.com. Parts when you need them.
All the parts your car will ever need. Rock Auto.
Ready, set, summer. The summer event is on at Townsend Honda. Right now, get financing as low as 1.99% APR on select new Hondas, plus 3 years of complimentary scheduled maintenance. Shop Townsend Honda's huge selection of certified pre-owned vehicles and get light new protection, low financing rates, and make no payments for 90 days. The summer event is happening now at Townsend Honda, Skyland Boulevard in Tuscaloosa.
For well-qualified buyers with approval from Honda Financial Services, offer ends August 8th, 2026.
Hey, this is Wyatt Fulton from Tide 100.9. We are live down here in Tampa, Florida for SEC Media Days 2026, presented to you by Pearl River Resort and the Sportsbook at Golden Moon Casino. Tune in all week on Tide 100.9 for press conferences, updates, and interviews from all 16 teams across the Southeastern Conference as we get you ready for the 2026 college football season. Be sure to tune in all week on Tide 100.9 for coverage from 2026 SEC Media Days in Tampa, Florida, presented to you by the Sportsbook at Golden Moon Casino and Pearl River Resort.
If you're looking for a golf cart or repairs to yours, stop by Dixie Custom Carts on Greensboro Avenue in Tuscaloosa. They sell Club Car, Donago, and Atlas golf carts. They can customize it to your specifications with a lift, tires, wheels, and lights. Dixie Custom Carts also carries a full line of parts and accessories, including chargers, windshields, hitches, Bluetooth kits, and so much more. If your golf cart needs repairs, the pros at Dixie Custom Carts can handle the job. Dixie Custom Carts, Greensboro Avenue in Tuscaloosa.
Hey, I'm Martin Houston, and I want to tell you about exciting news happening at Box Eye Care. They moved to their new location, bringing you a brand new lab, stylish new frames, and a fresh look just for you. Enjoy their expanded frame inventory, competitive prices, and faster service, all with the same great level of service you've come to know and trust. Discover this full-service eye care at Box Eye Care's new location. With their in-house lab, they offer unbeatable value and one of the largest frame collections in town. Schedule your eye exam today and walk out with new glasses in less than an hour in most cases. Visit boxeyecare.com. That's boxeyecare.com, or call 205-342-0660. That's 205-342-0660. Visit them at 5003 Oscar Baxter Drive. That's Box Eye Care. Your vision, our priority.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
Here's your Tuscaloosa and West Alabama forecast. Prepare for the heat here today. Sunshine. 96, feeling closer to 107, a calm easterly breeze, a slight chance of showers and storms, cooling to 76 tonight, Tuesday and Wednesday, hot and sunny, 97. Of course, we're keeping our eyes on Tropical Depression number 2, expected to strengthen into Bertha later today. There will be some impacts down along the Alabama Gulf Coast with some breezy conditions and some showers and storms. Richard DeWetting at the Weather Channel for Town Square Media, Tuscaloosa.
It's 75 degrees in Tuscaloosa.
It's time for the Martin Houston Show. With the same hard-hitting, no-nonsense approach in which he played the game, Martin will take you inside the locker room, down on the field, and across the goal line with his in-depth analysis.
Welcome back in to the Martin Houston Show. Martin, Xavier, and Simeon. It's the Sound Alabama Sports, your show, your team. It is SEC Media Days, and we're going to add Kennington Smith III to the conversation to get his thoughts there. And we'll just bring him in on the conversation we were having. The majority of the conversation we had in that first quarter was around Texas being overhyped. And we got a couple comments from that, and then we'll let Kennington address the vaunted Texas Aggies. If Sark doesn't win with this roster this year, woo, that's from Q Dixon. Jacob Powell saying they are poised to have a big year. Lots returning, and and they started playing, started to play really well at the end of the year. That's why they are hyping Texas. So when we look at the Texas Longhorns, are they overhyped? Is Sark overhyped, Kennington, or will they finally live up to the media darlings? Will the media pick them to be in the SEC championship game once again? Is Kennington there? All right. Kennington, going once, going
Hello?
twice.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we got you. Go ahead.
Hello?
We can hear you. All right. Come back on hold and let him know that we can hear him, but undoubtedly he cannot hear us. So we'll work through that. But guys, yeah, we were talking about the issue with not issue, but the opportunity with Texas. Do you think the media is going to end up picking them again?
Probably yes, but I think this year is probably warranted. Maybe. I mean, they have if Arch Manning can finish off. I mean, can start off the way he finished his last season. In addition, with Cam Coleman, Hollywood Smothers, which they stole from Alabama, and they have some guys on defense as well. So I think this year is probably the year that they will probably pick them. But I think this is probably the most talented Texas team they've had.
Yeah, and we're going to bring Kennington Smith III back in, and we're going to get off this Texas thing because they're coming up later in the week. But it just popped as one of those easy topics as an overall SEC media days type of conversation. And we only get to have Kennington on today, so we have to cover more than just the teams that's going to show up. Kennington, did you hear me when I asked you about the overhyping of Texas throughout the years, not just in the SEC? Does Sark in Texas finally live up to it?
Yeah, I definitely heard that, and it is, an interesting conversation, obviously, because it kind of feels like we've had this conversation about Texas every year, even going back to like when they were in the Big 12. It just kind of feels like the hype around them always seems to kind of build this time of year. I definitely feel like this is I don't know if make it or break it is the right way to describe it, but this is definitely like a signature type of year for Steve Sarkisian, where the runway is there for Texas, not only to compete in the SEC and win the SEC, but win the national championship as well. In some ways, I do understand why there is a lot of preseason hype, a lot of talented players, a lot of big names, but that hasn't stopped Texas from underperforming in the past. So I understand the hype to a degree. Like I said, a lot of big players, a lot of big names, a lot of key returners back this year, but it kind of does feel like we do this every year.
Yeah, because you think about this. Texas was in the Big 12. Who else was in the Big 12?
Oklahoma.
Like you take the top SEC schools throughout the years. You take the teams, not the top. You take the teams that were finishing consistently between 3rd and 5th in the SEC. They would win the Big 12 year in and year out. So,
what's hard for me when it comes to Texas and the hype is we talk about they haven't won a national championship in 21 years. It was 35 years before that.
I know.
They won it the year you were born, Dad, and then didn't win it again until I was 14, and they haven't won it since.
I know.
And yet they get talked about. Alabama had a 12-year gap between Coach Brian and y'all's team, and then an 18-year gap, and people talked so bad about Alabama.
Agreed. I know. I mean, that's what I'm saying. But they're always in it. They're always one of the teams that's going to win it. That's why I was saying that they're overhyped. Kennington, before we talk about the 4 teams showing up today, what do you think going to be some of the top topics throughout the week at SEC Media Days?
Yeah, I think the 9-game schedule has to be near the top of the list as far as conversations across the league. Playoff expansion is going to be a really big one. And it's going to be really interesting to see which coaches and which teams really kind of, in a way, pound the table for playoff expansion. So that's going to be another talking point, I think. And then, like, sneakily, coaches and players speaking to, again, the idea that the Big Ten has now overtaken the SEC as the premier football conference. I think like those are probably 3 general talking points that I think that coaches and players are going to speak to aside from their individual team.
Okay. Something that we can also talk to you about. Who's the hot seat guy? When you were talking about not make or break for Sark, I just think about him at Texas versus DeBoer here. I wonder if the Texas fan, if the Alabama fans are as hot as and disappointed or like making this a make or break year for DeBoer. I just wonder what the Texas folks are doing out there. Is it hotter under Sark's seat, or DeBoer is another topic? It seems, Kenneth, and I brought this up, and I'll get your response to it. It seemed that when you start reading some of these other schools and things out there, one of the things that coaches are trying to talk about is this coach speech trying to protect themselves, but they're talking a lot about culture and talent and are they positioning themselves that it's just harder to win right now to try to get the fans to give them a break? But seems there's some conversation out there around culture versus talent overall and looking at all of the other intangibles.
Yeah, definitely. And like even that reminds me of a quote, ironically, that Steve Sarkisian had. It might have been last year where he was talking somewhere and he basically said something to the effect of like, I don't know if we'll ever see another 16-0 team again because that's just how hard it is to win and maintain a roster. Yeah, and then Indiana goes and does it. Like, they go on and do it that same fall. But like that just speaks to your point about coaches kind of like repositioning expectations and like recalibrating how fans should feel about teams kind of like from their own perspective. So I definitely think that that's going to be something that, coaches speak to as well. Is just, again, like the recalibration of what it is to be a coach and to run your team and to run your program now. Like that might even be like a secondary conversation in regards to recruiting. Maybe Kellen DeBoer's going to speak to this as well. Kind of the philosophy and the approach of targeting specific players or how to build a recruiting class in today's times as well. So I think in addition to speaking about their own teams, then like this fall, coaches are going to be kind of having to explain their philosophies and how they think to make fans understand, how they go about building their team in this day and age.
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to come back on the other side and talk about a couple of those topics that you mentioned, Kenneth, and to get your thoughts on this Manic Monday. And then, of course, we'll use the fourth quarter to talk a little bit about at least Kentucky and Tennessee, who are 2 of Alabama's upcoming opponents. We'll be back on the other side to listen to the Martin Houston Show. We're powered by the good folks over at Dixie Battery Supply. They help us bring this great content and conversation to you each and every day. Go check them out. That's Dixie Battery Supply. They buy junk batteries, Tuscaloosa, Northport, and Bessemer. Never feel powerless again with Dixie Battery Supply.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
Tuscaloosa traffic now from the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center. I like what I see as we roll things along 359 north and south. Not a brake light to be found, getting you between 15th Street down towards 2059 east and west. Not a care in the world, getting you to and from Birmingham. All clear right now. McFarland Boulevard east and westbound, getting you over the water down towards 15th. Looks like Greensboro north and south is a great shot parallel to 359. If things get a little bit hasty later this morning, everything else in solid shape. With your Tuscaloosa traffic now, I'm Eder Seco.
I'm attorney Stephen Mizrano. Did you know that insurance companies will only offer you pennies on the dollar for your injury? When you're in a wreck, you need an attorney who knows the law and will fight for you. I don't back down from the insurance companies. You need to hire a proven attorney who will win. My firm will fight to make sure you get the compensation you deserve. Call 800-8000 or visit mezwins.com. I've got this.
No representations made that the quality of legal services to be performed is greater than the quality of legal services performed by other lawyers.
When it comes to custom apparel, trust your local experts at B&B Sports and Silkscreen in Northport. We specialize in team uniforms, event apparel, company branding, and custom hat patches. We offer professional screen printing, DTF prints, and embroidery with fast turnaround times and quality you can count on. Give us a call today for a free quote at 205-339-7361. That's 205-339-7361. Locally owned, locally trusted, and ready to bring your ideas to life.
There's new momentum in Congress to keep AM radio in every car and truck sold in America. But lawmakers need to keep hearing from listeners like you. AM radio is vital for public safety in local communities. Text AM to 39179 now. Message and data rates may apply. You may receive up to 4 messages a month, and you may text STOP to stop. This message furnished by the National Association of Broadcasters.
Hey, this is Wyatt Fulton from Tide 100.9. We are live at SEC Media Days down here in Tampa, Florida, getting you ready for the 2026 college football season with press conferences, interviews, and live updates from all 16 teams in the Southeastern Conference. Our coverage of SEC Media Days live from Tampa, Florida is brought to you by the great people over at Taco Casa. Be sure to tune in all week for SEC Media Days coverage live from Tampa, Florida, presented to you by Taco Casa.
Rob Billups here for Mercedes-Benz of Tuscaloosa. Some people chase the image of luxury. Others just choose the original. Well, right now, Mercedes-Benz Luxury is closer than you think. With exceptional lease offers and limited time financing options, now is the perfect time to trade up. At Mercedes-Benz of Tuscaloosa, we may not be the biggest dealer, but we strive to be the easiest to work with. Over 100 new Mercedes-Benz are available now, plus acres of certified pre-owns, many with extended warranties and unlimited mileage. Mercedes-Benz Luxury is closer than you think. With exceptional lease offers and limited time financing options, over 100 new Mercedes-Benz are available now, plus acres of certified pre-owned. Now is the perfect time to trade up. Visit us online or stop by on Skyland Boulevard. Mercedes-Benz of Tuscaloosa. For those who know the difference. MercedesofTuscaloosa.com. MercedesofTuscaloosa.com.
The sound of Bama Sports. Your show, your team. The Martin Houston Show on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Welcome back in to the Martin Houston Show. Martin, Xavier, and Simeon. We have Kennington Smith III in with us today. Kennington, will you make it down to Tampa, or are you going to be covering it remotely?
I'll be covering it remotely.
Okay. All right. So I guess, Kennington, if you could go down there before we get into those specific topics. What is Kennington? What's the first question Kennington would ask if he could ask any coach, and is there who would be that coach?
Yeah, I think the question that I would have is I'd have a question for Lane Kiffin, and I think I would try to get in to kind of speak to what is going to be the identity of this team with LSU. A lot of transfers. Some names that we know as like college football watchers, followers, but I would say at this point, Lane Kiffin has to be the most famous, notable college football coach in the country, at least just like by name. And I would just want to know kind of how he's gone about building the culture, the roster, kind of like the team chemistry, and what is LSU going to be known for when people bring them up in 2026. So some type of question that can kind of like speak to that is something that I want to know.
Yeah, if we're going off of just what I would ask, man, that'd be an interesting one. I'd probably ask Kiffin something along the lines of why leave LSU?
Ole Miss.
Why leave Ole Miss for LSU when you were doing something that had never been done and were on the precipice of changing or making history at Ole Miss? And this is just my opinion. I think if Lane Kiffin is their head coach, I think they might win it.
Gosh, I don't know. You're gonna have to come back to me.
Yeah,
I have to think a little longer on that question. What
yeah,
question
that's
I would
fine.
ask?
That's fine. Because when you look at the given name, I don't know about they would have won it. I think they played out of their mind for Golding against Georgia. So it's always easy. He's trying to say if he had been there, he would have won it. Well, why didn't you stay? What coach gives up a national championship for the hopes of a national championship? I mean, ask the guys who won. How easy was it to get the second one? They never did. So I think that's hard. Kind of piggybacking off of that, Kennington, we'll go wherever the conversation goes. I mean, I just think about how Nick Saban dominated SEC media days for so long. Kirby should. Why do we not? Why is Kirby not perceived the same way as Saban? Is it because he did what he did while he was still under the shadow of Saban? Why is he not whatever was going to be the dominant conversation at SEC media days was going to be originated from Saban?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a good question. I think there are a couple of factors. Like, I do think that, in some ways, like, you can't look at Kirby, like, not have the Saban influence. So in some ways, maybe, like, the personality styles, like, doesn't hit the same when you've already seen it from Nick Saban. Like, when Kirby has, like, a similar personality, it doesn't feel maybe as big. Kirby also, unlike Nick Saban, doesn't always use the media as like a vehicle to like get a point across or like get something that he wants to get off his chest like across, which is like something, especially like towards the end of Nick Saban's career, we saw a lot. So maybe Kirby's, again, experience, time in it, all of these things, I think kind of like play into it. He also doesn't have the same persona as Nick Saban either. Like Nick Saban just kind of had, this larger than life, super big presence about him. That kind of carries over from the field. It just doesn't like feel the same way with a lot of these like current college coaches, which is why I said Lane Kiffin, though he's not the most successful, feels like the most famous, notable college coach. There's just not a lot of big personalities in the sport right now of, guys leading programs. So, I mean, I think there's a multitude of things, but those would be a couple of things that I'll point to as like why it doesn't feel the same with Kirby as it did with Saban.
Yeah, what's crazy is Kirby has 2 national championships or 3? Two.
Yeah.
2. And he's not even at the age that Saban came to Alabama yet. I mean, I guess I look at it and go, whew. If people's trying to figure this thing out, Georgia, because the reality of it is Georgia's still the top dog in the SEC to somebody who throws them.
I think yes, he won his in the playoff era, but I think if it stayed 14 or if it had been a BCS era, I think people would feel more confident that Georgia would be able to go on these crazy runs. But I think that's part of the mindset and the issue of, well, can he do it? Because the playoffs are just gonna keep getting bigger, in my opinion.
Well, he hasn't won a playoff game in what, 2 years, right?
Yeah.
So I
3.
think that's 3 years. So I think that's also part of it. And I think another thing has to do with it. I'm going to bring up LeBron, but follow me. LeBron did it for so long that even when guys won while LeBron was still playing, LeBron is still the head of the face of the NBA. And so, like Nick Saban, even though Kirby won his while Nick Saban was coaching, and all these other coaches won while Nick Saban was coaching, Nick Saban was always going to be the head. And so now that Nick Saban's gone, Kirby hasn't won anything since Nick Saban's been gone. So that's probably why he's still not seen as that type of guy yet.
Interesting. So it sounds like you guys are saying you think it's going to be more difficult to win championships now than it was before. I also think, Kennington, and this will bring it back to the 9-game schedule, I think it's because the SEC isn't viewed as the top dog anymore either. Like Kirby's getting ready to win his 3rd straight SEC, but people are saying the SEC isn't what it was when Saban was winning it. So, and with that said, did the Big Ten – did they punk Sankey and the SEC into 9 games because their defending national champion said, I'm going to go out and schedule who I want. I don't care what you all say. I'm going to get me some easy wins. So did they punk the SEC into taking that 9th game?
Yes.
Yes.
They did.
Hold on, David Kennington.
Yeah, I mean, just the short answer is yes. Like, the SEC has been steadfast with the 8 conference games. And now they're at 9, kind of conforming. And the thing is, it's like they agreed to that deal television-wise with the SEC with 8 conference games as the number, not 9 conference games as the number. So good for ESPN adding a conference game because in any given year that could be Texas, Georgia, or Georgia, Alabama, or, insert 2 big teams here. That's another opportunity for them. But, to your point about the SEC not being as strong, the idea that the SEC could play 8 while everybody played 9 because the SEC was that much of a grind, that argument has really gone flat over the last couple of years when the SEC has not performed well in the playoffs. Georgia leading the way in that aspect as well, where it's like you win the SEC, but you don't win in the playoffs. And playoff games are 6 weeks after the SEC championship. It doesn't even feel like the same season anymore. So the feeling of winning the SEC doesn't hit the same as it did, prior to this era anyway. So short answer, yes, they did get punked. And I'm not sure also, in the same breath, that the whole idea of, the SEC grind is as strong of an argument based off of what we've seen in the last 3 years of the playoffs.
Yeah. And the reality of it is, Simeon, the grind actually may be why they're not as good. I mean, what people see, having played, I think the opposite of what everybody else says. They're saying the SEC grind isn't as much. I'm saying it is because the SEC goes into the playoffs beat up because they don't have the SEC used to have the depth to make the grind. Now they just grind the first teamers down, and then when they get to the playoffs, the other teams haven't had that grind and they're healthier. And you also have to look at the SEC. The SEC is finishing higher ranked in the polls. So the 4th and 5th SEC team is playing against the conference, the 2nd and 3rd team in the other ones.
Yeah. I just think the thing is that maybe the Big Ten at top of conference might be better than the SEC right now, but teams 8 through 16 and 8 through, I think there's 18 teams in the Big 18 teams in the Big Ten. Those teams, the SEC are better than those teams. I mean, there's some
you
teams
say
that
8. You say team 8. I say team 5 through.
Okay.
Outside of Ohio State, Indiana now, Michigan, and Oregon.
Okay, real quick, Kennington, because we can talk about this more. Pick your top 3 teams from the SEC team, top 3 from the Big Ten, and is there a difference?
Yeah, I would say there's a difference, but I don't think it's that far off. Like, who are the top 3 teams in the Big Ten? Oregon, Indiana, and Ohio State. And then the top 3 teams in the SEC would be Georgia, Texas, and Ole Miss. Am I missing somebody for that third SEC? That's what I would pick. At least Ole Miss would be my third team. And I mean, if all those teams played, it would probably be close. Are we using Indiana from this year or Indiana from last year? Because that changes a lot of the conversation.
And that's my point. My point is, if you're going into this season, yeah, Indiana jumped up, and that's what you're going to have to be. That's why it's going to be hard to make these types of statements, because I did a training the other day, and I was talking to a company, and I said, you can have a great year, but that doesn't mean you have a great program and a great company and a great product. Because next year you're going to have to find that product again to repeat. And I think that's what you see. Ohio State has been legit under Ryan Day, but he can't coach over the top. Let's just be real. The only time Ryan Day has won it is when he was superior. He had – and that's also what you say about Indiana. Each one of these teams has had something when they won it. Michigan cheated, and everybody knows it. Ohio State had the best money roster could buy. Indiana had the oldest roster to ever exist in college sports. And they all won it. But if that's the way new things are, somebody else could do the same thing. Year in and year out, I'm still going to take the SEC in a round robin. Starting the season off, not at the end of the season. And I may be biased. And I'm not even sold on Ole Miss, because Ole Miss, Kiffin has managed to do it every year. But is Kiffin, can he do it? Can Ole Miss do it again? Will Ole Miss fall to the middle of the pack this year or below? We'll talk about it on
That's why I would have Alabama right now as my number 3 team over Ole Miss, because I know DeBoer builds. DeBoer has built. So I have faith going into year 3. I'm taking that over Pete Golding in year 1.
Yeah. And as we go to break, didn't Alabama win the SEC regular season last year?
Yep.
Talking out loud. We'll be back on the other side.
Here's what's trending on the Tuscaloosa thread.
Good morning. Here's one of the top stories we're following for you this hour. High temperatures in the low to mid-90s will combine with humid conditions today to produce heat index values near 105 degrees and a moderate to occasional major heat risk. Daily showers and thunderstorms will be isolated to scattered in coverage. A heat advisory is in effect through Tuesday all across West Alabama. Click TuscaloosaThread.com for more West Alabama news, sports, and weather coverage. It's free throughout the day. Don Hartley, Town Square Media, Tuscaloosa.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
Tuscaloosa traffic now from the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center. Seeing a few brake lights filling in on Skyland Boulevard east and westbound between McFarland all the way towards 359 north and south. I like what I see getting you to and from downtown. Lurleen and Wallace working well, getting you to and from the interstate. Looks like 15th is in great shape through downtown itself. McFarland Boulevard east and west. No brake lights to be found underway towards the water. Everything else in great shape as we move things along. With your Tuscaloosa traffic now, I'm Eder Seago.
This report is sponsored by Liberty Mutual Insurance. Only pay for what you need. Why pay full price when you can customize and save? Switch to Liberty Mutual and they'll customize your auto and home insurance so you only pay for what you need.
Liberty, 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 liberty.
Ready, set, summer. The summer event is on at Townsend Honda. Right now, get financing as low as 1.99% APR on select new Hondas, plus 3 years of complimentary scheduled maintenance. Shop Townsend Honda's huge selection of certified pre-owned vehicles and get light new protection, low financing rates, and make no payments for 90 days. The summer event is happening now at Townsend Honda, Skyland Boulevard in Tuscaloosa.
For well-qualified buyers with approval from Honda Financial Services, offer ends August 8th, 2026.
Coming up on The Game with Ryan Fowler.
Coming up on the Monday edition of The Game, we're live in Tampa, Florida at the JW Marriott as Kentucky, the Missouri Tigers, Oklahoma, Tennessee, they're on the clock for the first day of SEC Media Days. Greg Sankey will give us the State of the Union of the Southeastern Conference. We're going to have a chance to catch up with Tony Barnhart, Chris Doering. We'll do that starting at 2 p.m. on The Game with Ryan Fowler live at SEC Media Days in Tampa, Florida all week as we get you ready for college football right here on Tide 100.9, 1230 WTBC, your home of Alabama Crimson Tide Sports.
The longest running sports talk show in Tuscaloosa. The Game with Ryan Fowler. Weekdays from 2 to 6 p.m. on Tide 100.9 and 1230 a.m. WTBC. And streaming worldwide on the free Tide app.
T-Mobile has an exclusive bundle for customers 55 and up.
I'm Sarah Bowl.
Yeah, I'm Frank Bowl.
A reliable network is key for us. And with T-Mobile, it's been wonderful. And going to the 55 plus plan saved us so much money.
A lot.
And that's important. Trying to keep costs down. The home internet's been perfect. It's fast, it's quick. The setup was so easy, it took less than 15 minutes.
It was like, If you want simplicity, coverage, reliability, you want the whole package, T-Mobile has it. Right now, T-Mobile customers 55 and up can get 2 phone lines on America's best network, plus America's fastest 5G home internet for just $30 each.
$30 per month each line with autopay plus taxes and fees. Minimum age 55. Pricing for home internet rely on 2 lines of essentials. Choice 55. $35 connection charge per line required. Best mobile network and fastest 5G home internet based on analysis by Ookla of Speed Test Intelligence Data 2H 2025. All rights reserved.
Interact with the Martin Houston Show by calling us at 205-342-9904 or tuning into the Martin Houston Show on Facebook.
All right, welcome back to the Martin Houston Show with Martin, Xavier, and Simeon. We are joined by Kennington Swift III as we close out this manic Monday. Now, Kennington, Kentucky. Now, Alabama plays Kentucky this year. Alabama hasn't played Kentucky in quite some time, but they are coming off with since 2022. And will the new offense catch Alabama off guard with new head coach Will Stein?
It's going to be, I think it's going to be pretty tough to catch Alabama's defense slipping. But it's certainly possible, and it's going to be an interesting matchup because Alabama has, this is like a classic, like Kalen DeBoer loss. If you just look at his first 2 years, like this is like prime, like setting up for a loss. On the road, underwhelming opponent. This kind of like feels like that spot. And the thing about Kentucky is they're kind of like this team that the media is like propping up as like this like sleeping giant, kind of like similar to Indiana. And whether that's true or not, they're still going to believe that that is true after like in week 2 when Alabama goes there. Like there's not going to be enough time for them to come down or be deflated. So Alabama's going to walk into a situation where I don't know if I can call this like a hostile environment, but there's going to be a lot of energy in the building because it's going to be really early in the season. It's going to be an opportunity to pull an upset. So I think those things might contribute to a potential upset. But as far as them just lining up and tricking or like beating Alabama's defense, I think that's going to be a tall task.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how that game plays out. But Kennington, moving on, Alabama for the first time in 40 years has – go ahead.
Go ahead.
Has swapped matchup victories with Tennessee. Is that a trend that continues? Tennessee has won at home. Alabama has won at home. Can Bama break that streak?
I think Bama can break that streak. There's no telling what Tennessee's season is going to look like at that point in the year. And like it's like still somewhat early in the calendar, but they're gonna have to play at Georgia Tech, who's gonna be a pretty good team. They still have to play Texas and Auburn before they get to Alabama with a true freshman or a redshirt freshman quarterback. So that would be, I think, a pretty disappointing loss for Alabama if they were to lose that game, given that they're the much more experienced team, that they're a team that's projected to go to the playoffs, and Tennessee is kind of seemed like they're kind of in a gap year. Obviously, anything can happen, especially when Tennessee's playing at home, but I foresee Alabama breaking that streak and winning this year.
Yeah. Is it the youthfulness with the quarterback position that it's an interesting concept because they have experience at wide receiver, running back, but their quarterbacks are young. Alabama's kind of in the same situation. Does that kind of even the playing field?
In a way, yes, but Alabama's defense is just far, I think, superior, which gives them an advantage. And then it's just like as far as just the quarterbacks go, both size and experience. But if we were doing a draft of like these four guys drafted 1 through 4, Austin Mack and Keelan Russell may not be 1-2, but one of those guys you're probably taking 1. So at least with Alabama, just from a talent perspective, you probably would take their 2 guys over Tennessee's 2 guys.
And real quick, does Alabama defense against the Oregon offense, because at least Alabama can go back and look at what he attempted to do at Oregon. Does Alabama defense, especially early in the season, pretty much give them credit and opportunity to win all of their games leading up to and through the Tennessee game?
Yeah, definitely. That's what I think. When I talked about identity with Lane Kiffin, I would have a similar question for Kalen DeBoer. And I think early on and probably throughout the year, defense is going to be what you think of when you think about this year's Alabama team. And that's why if you were to put them in the top 3 of the SEC, that would be why, is because their defense is going to be that good. And I think we'll be able to help them kind of pace their way through the season.
Who you got winning the SEC?
I'm going to go with Georgia again.
Woo! That's why is a Georgia guy. Yeah. I'm just going to call him out.
Hey, it is true. I did go to Georgia, but I just got to look at it for what it is. They won as the youngest team in the SEC last year. So you come back with all that same experience. I think Kirby is the best coach in the SEC, certainly in game. I don't think that's debatable at this point. So give me Georgia over Alabama. They're going to play twice, just like they did last year.
Okay. Who wins the regular season game?
Alabama.
Tell them where they can find you, Kennington.
Yeah, on Twitter/X at SkinnyKenny_ and at atnews.org.
All right. Hey, that's Skinny Kenny. Follow him. He's going to be breaking down some topics, 9-game schedule, playoff expansion, how to build a roster, and is the SEC Premier Conference. That's some of the things that we'll be talking about the rest of the week, and he will as well. Remember this, trust in the Lord always. Lean not in your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he will direct your path. Roll Tide, everybody.
Roll Tide.
Thank you for listening to the Martin Houston Show on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.